Let's chat about dementia. I haven't done a ton of videos on this, and it's really important we have this conversation. So what I want to do on this video is go through 4 silent, and they're really interesting signs, like silent signs that are subtle, but they're indications that your brain is not moving in the right direction. So we're going to dive in to what are these 4 symptoms. I'm going to give you some solutions if you find these symptoms are showing up. So if as I go through these 4, if you're feeling bummed out, sit with me because I want to talk about what we can do. I would never bring you a video just to scare you. I always bring you videos to educate you, and then I will give you some resources so that you can course correct and make smart choices for yourself. Okay, first, I really want to point out, this is so massively important to me and to women everywhere, is that when women go through menopause, we don't just lose two chemicals. We don't just lose estradiol and progesterone. We lose a whole series of neurotransmitters and neurochemicals that keep us cognitively strong. So let me explain. Estradiol. Estradiol is the most important and powerful form of estrogen, but when we look at the loss of estradiol, when estradiol goes down, we lose serotonin, we lose dopamine, we lose acetylcholine for memory, we lose glutamate for focus, we lose BDNF for new neuronal growth, we lose so many, oxytocin, so many neurochemicals. So that's why you can't hold on to information. That's why you have brain fog. So it is a chemical shift that is happening after 40. I call it your neurochemical armor. It is shedding. And if you're aware of that after 40, you can start to make some better choices for yourself. The brain for a woman has to learn how to recalibrate to this loss of estradiol. Estradiol wasn't just releasing an egg. Estradiol had this brain magic and it was neuroprotective. So when these 4 signs show up, I want you to realize, oh, I've got to find some strategies to bring that neurochemical armor up, and I'm going to talk about them at the end of this video so that you're empowered. Men, now as you age, typically because your brain isn't as focused on estrogen, although testosterone raises and converts into estrogen. When we see a decrease in estrogen in the brain from a man, it's because we're seeing a decrease in testosterone in the body. So think about toxins, think about stress, think about vitamin D. Those are big things that need to be in balance to bring testosterone up so you're converting it into estrogen so that your cognition works right. Now, with that in mind, I want to talk about these 4 signs. So the first one is difficulty concentrating. And, this is very, very subtle, and it's really mixed in with this ADD brain that we've created in our lifestyle right now. So with concentration, you could be getting an ADD brain because you've been training it to think in short bursts, like scrolling on your social media all the time. This is one of the things I love about YouTube, is that's longer format. Many of you are watching it on your television sets, and it's longer as opposed to the little sound bites that can come through from the other platforms. All of that is training you to have this ADD brain, and you're not able to concentrate on the longer tasks. So put your phone down. I just did an incredible interview with Marie Forelio, and she's launched a product called Time Genius. It'll come out in the beginning of January, this interview. And she talked about how we are trying to shove so many things into our brain throughout the day that it's making us dumber. And part of that is because we lack concentration with all of this information coming at us in these little short bursts. So we'll talk about what you combine that with these neurochemical changes, and yes, now you're on a path to dementia. So difficulty concentrating. Okay, the next one is memory loss. Now, here's what I want to say, and please take this with love, that losing your memory and aging they do not have to go hand in hand. I will tell you, I have a 87-year-old dad And an 84-year-old mom, super sharp. My mom at 84, she can tell you lots of stories about her childhood. It's crazy. She can remember phone numbers and addresses. And so you don't have to age and lose memory. And if you're in a younger place and you're like, I'm forgetting names, I'm forgetting faces, whatever that you're forgetting, memory loss can be a sign that dementia is starting to kick in. And that's BDNF. So for my women, that as we lose estradiol, we lose BDNF. BDNF is brain fertilizer. And one of the ways you bring BDNF back up is through exercise and fasting. So we'll dive into that here in the latter part of this video. So there are other tools you have. You're just going to have to work a little bit harder at them. The next one, third one, is trouble with familiar daily tasks. So it's like a little bit of a disorientation where you are starting to notice that you just are forgetting the daily task. You know, there's a lot of routine in our lives. Maybe the routine feels confusing to you. Maybe you're forgetting to do things like put the detergent in the dishwasher. Like that, those combined with memory problems, combined with lack of concentration, yeah, we need to take note of that. And if you're that person or you have someone in your life, a loved one that has that, send them this video because I'm going to give you some solutions. And then the fourth and the final warning sign is changes in mood. Now, my menopausal women, this is an easy one. We have changes in mood as we lose all these neurochemicals. So it's easy to call it menopause, but we also need it to look if I'm changing moods, my moods are low, I'm forgetting things in my daily tasks, I'm losing long-term memory, I'm having trouble concentrating. That all piled up is a huge warning sign. So let me give you some solutions for what you can do. Well, the first is a really cool study. I love the science. I'm going to leave it here in the links. A 2023 review found that two of the most important things for preventing dementia after menopause was one, increasing estrogen. You can increase estrogen either by HRT, hormone replacement therapy, or bioidenticals. So talk to your doctor about which one would be right for you. You can increase estrogen by fasting like a girl. That's what we're seeing. And you can do it if you don't have a cycle. You just do the 30-day fasting reset in here. You can increase estrogen by following the 5 steps that I map out in the menopause reset. I have a lot of resources for increasing estrogen. So if the patch hasn't been working for you, bioidenticals haven't been working for you, know that there are lifestyle solutions to increase estrogen as well. The second thing this study said is that eating a nutrient-dense diet. So you're going to start to see a lot of videos now. I've been teaching you all metabolic switching, and I really want to get into the foods because we need them to be nutrient dense. So are you eating the rainbow? Are you eating organic? Are you eating fruits and vegetables from regenerative farm? They have a lot more nutrients in them. And if you're not, you might consider a high quality multivitamin, but I always like to give you food sources first. And the third thing that this study found to bring dementia down while going into those menopausal years is maintaining a healthy body weight. So I've talked so much about belly fat and menopausal fat here on this channel, but this is why I love metabolic switching for the perimenopause and menopausal woman, because it works and it gets rid of that belly fat. It gets rid of the extra fat. We want you a healthy weight. We know that exercise like weightlifting, when you're actually like building muscle and you're breaking down muscle, there's a metabolite from that muscle breaking down that goes up into the brain that stimulates BDNF. We also know that if you want to improve neuronal pathways, it's called neuroplasticity, learn something new. I've talked about this a lot. You know, as we age, we tend to do the same thing over and over again. Get yourself into some new environments. Learn a new language. That's one of the best ways to improve that neuroplasticity. So make sure that you're not stuck in that over and over and over again same routine. You've got to vary the routine. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as brushing your teeth with your left hand. If you're brushing your teeth with your left hand, it's changing it up for the brain, and the brain has to create those new neuronal pathways. So let's stop trying to always hold on to routine and familiar. Let's put ourselves into new environments so that we can start to create a more neuroplastic brain as women are losing estradiol, and men, if you're losing testosterone, you're losing estrogen because of that conversion that happens in the brain. And the last thing I will tell you is when it comes to dementia, It's lifestyle, 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 lifestyle. We have created a healthcare system that wants you to believe there is a pill for everything. We're seeing it so much right now. And I have to tell you that a pill is not going to solve many of your health problems. If you love the pills you take, make sure you're pairing them to a good lifestyle. It's really, really important. But what we have lost in the culture and in our society and in the conversations that are being had everywhere about aging is how damn important your lifestyle is. We gotta go there first. We gotta go there first. Because otherwise we're shiny object syndrome. We're like, take this drug, do this thing, try this one trick, and you just end up going crazy. Let's create a great lifestyle where you learn how to metabolically switch. Let's bring the toxic load down. Let's bring exercise back. Let's get rid of those endocrine disruptors that you're lathering yourself in. There is an absolute lifestyle. I've created 2 books for my women, and this one goes for all women. This is for women over 40. I have created lifestyle books for you. I have more coming, don't worry. We have a lot more to unpack together with lifestyle, but you are not out of answers if you have these 4 silent symptoms. You have answers, and they are going to be found in your lifestyle. I promise. So let me know what you want and what you need to know from when it comes to dementia. If you have been using fasting to improve memory, I want to see your story because I know fasting supercharges the brain. Let's talk about your liver for a hot moment because your liver is the most important organ when it comes to being able to metabolically switch. And it's a really hard organ to know if it's healthy or not healthy. In fact, by the time we know that it's not healthy, usually it's a massive crisis. And unfortunately, especially here in the States, we've got a massive epidemic of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And it's coming from 3 very specific ingredients that are in your foods. So before I talk about your feet and what you should look at to be able to understand where your liver's at, let's talk about those 3 foods briefly right now. So first is all the bad oils. So I've talked about this. I wrote about this in Fast Like a Girl. I listed it out. I feel like I say it almost every video. Please, please, please mind your fats. The bad fats will make you fat. The good fats won't. And a large reason that these bad inflammatory fats are harmful is they are destructive to your liver. Okay, second ingredient that you want to think about is sugar. A highly processed, refined sugar, refined flours is damaging to the liver. And the third one is toxic ingredients. These are the ingredients you cannot pronounce on your ingredient label. So please make sure that you are reading your ingredient label and you understand what's actually in your food. Okay, with that out of the way, let's really talk about what we can do to identify if our liver is working well or not. And on this video, I really want to dive into the feet because there are some real telltale signs when you look at your feet that will tell you where your liver performance is at. So let's start with this idea. When you increase the bad fat in your diet, the harmful inflammatory fats, what I want you to remember is that it becomes like sludge in your bloodstream. So stop and think about that for one hot moment. You're out to dinner, you want those French fries, your brain is like, yes, please give them to me. It's salt, it's fat, it's going to be so good. I want you to stop in that moment and think about what the toxic oil in those French fries is going to do to not just your blood, but your liver. And I really like this idea of thinking of sludge, like a really thick, viscous material moving through your blood. And specifically when it comes to the liver, it starts to, when we have this increase in fat, it starts to build up pressure in the portal vein. So that is the part of the vein that's taking after the blood gets filtered through the liver. It goes out through the portal vein for exit so it can get all of those toxins out of you. When the pressure in the portal vein goes up, it starts to slow down circulation in your body, and the first place you're going to see it is in your feet. So think about this for a hot moment. What that might look like is all of a sudden you're just getting swollen feet more frequently. It might be when you're sitting, it might be when you're walking, but that swollen feet look and when you look down at your toes, if it's getting swollen, that could be a slowing down of the blood flow in and out of the liver, affecting pressure in the portal vein, affecting how much circulation can get to their feet. The second one, sometimes, and this is a really interesting one, changes in blood flow in different body parts can appear as itchy. So you might notice that you actually have really itchy feet. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, you're like, why is my feet itching? The other interesting part of that is that the more we eat these highly refined carbohydrates in our diet, the more we feed a fungus called Candida that actually starts to take over your whole body and especially your taste buds. So if you have itchy feet combined with an intense craving for carbohydrates and sugar, those two can be a sign that we've got some imbalance in the gut, and we've got definitely this stagnation and a massive issue forming in the liver. So the third one, and this one, I know a lot of you have seen it, is that it can be where your feet start to get dried out and start to crack. So that's because you're not getting enough circulation all the way down to your feet because of the stagnation in this portal vein. So when we look at the feet, we have to look at are we getting enough circulation? So lack of circulation can look like a puffiness. It can look like when you sit for long periods of time that all of a sudden your feet start to swell. It also can look like this itchiness that you feel when at the bottom of your feet. Like I can't figure out why I can't stop itching my feet. That could be a lack of circulation mixed with some dysbiosis going on in your gut. And then the third one can be the cracking on the bottom of the soles of your feet. Now, why I want to go into this level of detail with you is because so many people are only looking at their liver through the lens of their yearly blood work. So they go and get their general physical every year, which is I highly recommend, and they run blood work and they're looking at liver enzymes to see how the liver is functioning. But when actually non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is diagnosed, that's when it shows up on blood work, not in all those years and days leading up to the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It takes years for that to form. And in those years, you can look to your feet and get an assessment of where you are in your liver health. So please, we don't want to take a small little tip like this and push it to the side, because if you're waiting for an official diagnosis, by the time they see it on blood work, the pathology is already there. The disease has already happened. So let's make sure that we can look at our feet on a semi-regular basis. Now, I want to throw in a couple bonus things here, because the other place, and I do this as a postmenopausal woman, so for all my postmenopausal and perimenopausal women out there, this is something I look at every single day to see how my liver is functioning, because the liver is really important for breaking down estrogen. And when you go through menopause, you're already getting a lower amount of estrogen. So if that estrogen is not being broken down, then you're going to see signs of lower estrogen much quicker. So where I look every single day when I'm washing my face is in the inner corner of my eyes. When there's a little bit of yellow that forms there, that can be an indication that we've got some strain on the liver. So you combine that with some of the changes I talked about in the feet, and you've now got two markers to be able to see how well your liver is doing. Now, if you want more markers to know about it, you can even, for women that are in the menopausal process, we start to, when that liver detox pathway is under stress and it's not working, we start gaining weight around the midsection. That's another sign. We also, for women in their perimenopausal years, you might start to notice that you have really bad hot flashes. That often goes with alcohol. The days you drink alcohol or the nights you drink alcohol, you have a hot flash that night. And that can be because of the decrease in estrogen that alcohol will bring. And all of that is centered around the liver. So I couldn't just bring you this video and say, okay, look at your feet. I really wanted to give you the context in which to start thinking about your liver. You need it to metabolically switch. You need it to break down hormones. And by the time they diagnose a liver problem, it's too late. So we've got to tap into these things like the feet, the eyes, and the accumulation of belly fat. That really is a good indicator that, hey, your liver's like, I need some help. Give me some help. And if you can support it, and let's talk about this for a moment, if you can support it with things like fasting. Fasting is one of the best ways to just give your liver a break from all the influx of sugar, all the influx of bad fats. Go read my Amazon reviews on Fast Like a Girl. I mean, we hear story after story after story of women that are seeing changes in their liver function. They're seeing changes in how they break down all of these hormones. They're losing weight at crazy rates because fasting primes that liver and gets that liver back online. So I don't want you to think that repairing your liver is a complicated thing. It can be as simple as building a fasting lifestyle. The second thing I will say about fixing your liver that I really emphasize a lot here on my YouTube channel, which is bitter foods. Let's go into those dandelion greens and the radicchio and the arugula. Like every meal, let's be bringing these bitter foods in to support your liver. Ginger, lemon, those are also really good bitter foods. And of course the obvious. So if you look down at your feet after this video and you're like, oh no, it's bad, there's not a lot of circulation there, getting off of the liver agitators. So these are, alcohol is the number one. Just try this. If you look at your feet, get off alcohol for a week and see what happens. That highly processed diet, the bad food, the bad fat, get off the bad fats. Get off the refined sugars and flours. Like, just change it for a week and then look at your feet, look at your inner eye, and look at the fat distribution. Let your body tell you how that's working. So we can remove the liver agitators and we can use fasting as a tool to clean up the functionality of that liver, and then you're back being able to metabolically switch in a much easier and smoother way. That's how crazy important your liver is. So if you're new to fasting and you've never heard of it before, welcome to my channel. But I have a really cool beginner's guide for intermittent fasting. So I will leave the link in the notes below. I'm sure my team will probably even put something here on the page for you all to see. But it's really important if you have not tried fasting. It's so incredible to watch what your body's capable of when you go into these fasted states. You clean the liver up, and then you're going to have that visual. You're going to see it in your feet, in your fat distribution, and in your eyes, and how well you can metabolically switch. So I hope that helps. And what I would love from you all, because we are a community here, is if you could put in the comments below if fasting has helped your liver, if you've seen dramatic changes that I just mentioned. We're a community here. So share your liver wins with fasting so we can inspire the newbies to hop on a fasting lifestyle. Okay, check this out. I have a free fasting guide for you all. It's free. And it's going to teach you all the basics of fasting. It's going to teach you how to kill hunger when you fast, which is really cool. And it's going to show you how to break your fast, among many other things. All you got to do is click on this link right here and enjoy. So we've got to talk about 3 major warning signs that tell you you are deficient in, honestly, the most powerful nutrient, I actually think a lot of people would say this, on the planet, and that is magnesium. If there's any vitamin or nutrient or mineral that deserves a massive amount of attention because it's that powerful, it's magnesium. So in this video, I want to talk about these warning signs, and then I want to talk about how do you navigate the different types of magnesium, because in both of these conversations, there's a lot of nuance and a lot of things to discuss. So let's dive in so you can see where you're at, and you can make smart, informed decisions for yourself. Ready? Here are the 3. First, I want to point out that we have a massive amount of people in our population that are deficient in magnesium. And here's the number one reason. Well, I'm going to give you 2 reasons, but I'm going to give you the number one reason why. It's because we're so freaking stressed out. And when stress goes high, cortisol goes high. And when cortisol goes high, magnesium goes low. The more stressed you are, the more magnesium your body is using. The second reason that we're so deficient as humans in magnesium is because of the soils that our food is grown in right now. They're so depleted, especially here in America, where we're monocropping and we are growing our fruits and vegetables in dead soil as opposed to leaning into regenerative farms that have a more mineral-rich profile, which would give you more magnesium in your foods. So it's really interesting because the soil your food is grown in really will determine the nutrient profile. So with that in mind, there's some scary statistics like a 2018 study found that 20% of Americans are magnesium deficient. And what I find really fascinating for those of us that have gone through the menopause experience is that they're saying that about 84% of postmenopausal women are deficient in magnesium. That's a lot. So let's talk about the signs, and then we'll talk about what we can do to fix this. So the number one sign, and I would put this on a spectrum, is muscle cramps. So calcium and magnesium work in opposition. So calcium helps with contracting muscle. Magnesium helps with relaxing muscle. So it's a little bit like estrogen and progesterone. You know, when estrogen goes high, she makes sure that she keeps progesterone in check, and vice versa. So we have to make sure that our calcium-magnesium balance is in good shape. And so what the calcium will do is it'll help with contraction of a muscle, and what magnesium does is it helps with relaxation of a muscle. So if we are low in magnesium, now all of a sudden that balance is off, and we're going to get a lot more cramping. It might feel like a Charlie horse. You wake up in the middle of the night. It might be that all of a sudden you're just feeling a lot tighter. Your muscles are feeling a lot tighter, which is, those of us who've been through the menopause process, that's definitely something that has shown up, especially with the decrease in collagen. So make sure that if you're getting regular muscle cramps, I want you to translate that into, sounds like I might need more magnesium. Okay, second explanation or reason or sign that you may be low in magnesium is poor sleep. Now, I know if you're a menopausal woman, you're like, whoa, that's every night for me. But it doesn't always happen just in the menopausal years. A lot of you that are men listening to this, a lot of you that are cycling women are getting hooked in these moments where you're getting poor sleep. And how this works is that there was a couple interesting studies that I thought, is that it doesn't allow you to get into a deep, restful sleep. It's a funny little combination because when you're low in magnesium, at night, your muscles aren't relaxing. We already talked about that, so you can't quite let your body go. And it's not letting you get into a deeper state of healing sleep. So we call that deep sleep. And because of that, during the day, low magnesium can cause sleepiness. So it's kind of a catch-22. You're not getting the quality of sleep that you need at night because you're low in magnesium, and you're not staying awake during the day like you should. It can contribute to daytime sleepiness. So it's got this weird catch-22 that I encourage you. Again, it's so easy to take, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. Third thing that I will tell you is a sign that you are low in magnesium is chronic stress. Now, what's the sign of chronic stress? And there's a lot of signs. When we look at chronic disease, there is a constant statement over and over again that chronic disease, a big contributing factor is chronic stress. But I don't know about you. For me, I have felt in my life that stress sneaks up on me. There's a lot of things I like to do in my life, and sometimes I can't tell that I'm getting into this chronic stressed state. So I've now learned to navigate different cues. So one of those cues is how quickly I react to stress. When a stressor hits me, if I'm not able to pause and just take a breath and digest that stress, that's a sign that chronic stress is catching up to me. Insomnia, or trouble falling asleep, because sometimes I find I get to the end of the day and I'm like, my brain is so wound up that I can't seem to get myself to relax and fall asleep. That can also be a sign of chronic stress getting the best of me. The other sign of chronic stress getting the best of you is that you're doing everything you possibly can and you're not losing weight. So your body is like, nope, not going to release this weight because we're still running from the tiger. Now, with that in mind, how does magnesium specifically work with chronic stress? And there's a couple of interesting studies. And one of the key ones that I just want to point out is that magnesium has the power to inhibit the cortisol response. So this is massively important because when we're in a stress-saturated world, our body is like always putting out cortisol. Now remember, when cortisol goes high, you become more insulin resistant. When you're more insulin resistant, your sex hormones get thrown off. So when we bring magnesium into the picture, we start to see that it can inhibit the cortisol response and we don't get that cortisol saturation as easily. There was an interesting 2020 paper that I want to bring to your attention, that where researchers described the vicious circle concept of magnesium and stress. And it goes like this. Basically, stress goes up, magnesium goes down. Magnesium goes down, and then we're more quickly for stress to go up. And then we deplete magnesium more. And then we become easier for stress to grab a hold of us. We have a quicker stress response, and it just creates this loop. So let's fix that. Sound like a plan? So here's what you need to know when you look at the different kinds of magnesium. So first, before I talk about the different kinds, I want to talk about that there's different ways to get magnesium in your body. And I'm a fan of doing all three of these ways. So one way is through supplementation. We'll talk about that in a moment. The other way is through IV. You can check out the Resetter podcast. I'm bringing you an IV specialist who's going to break down all of the different IVs so we can understand that. But anybody who has ever had a magnesium IV will tell you the minute it goes in your body, there's like this relaxation phase. It's like the greatest calming effect. In my IV place, they always call it Mother's Little Helper. I'm like, yeah, because it just calms your down. It's amazing. So you can get it through IV. And then another way that I love to get my magnesium in is through skin. So you can do it through a bath. There's a lot of float tank places. So for me personally, I like to mix those different variations. Do my supplementation, do my IV, do my floats, or take a bath with put a big bag of magnesium salts in there. So I like to cycle and get them all in different ways. Now, as far as the magnesium type, the major, most powerful magnesium is magnesium glycinate. Now, it is the one that is the most effective form of magnesium. It's highly absorbable and it works very quick, but it's very expensive. So a lot of magnesium supplements may not have it in there. I highly recommend you check it. Now that you know it's sort of the all-purpose magnesium, you might ask your IV place if they are doing magnesium glycinate because it is the most powerful. But there's a couple other that I really like. Magnesium citrate is also really available, but I like it specifically for digestive issues. So those, and it's interesting because if we bring the stress response into the conversation here, remember that when you're in fight or flight, a lot of times the digestive system shuts down. So we got to get you into a relaxed state. Well, I just told you magnesium lowers cortisol. It can help you get into a relaxed state. But it also can relax specifically if you use magnesium citrate. It can actually really relax your digestive system and make it so that you actually have a daily bowel movement, which is imperative, super important to have that daily bowel movement to get the toxic stuff out of you and the toxic estrogen and everything your body's trying to recycle out of you. So if stress is holding you back from a daily bowel movement, make sure that you're putting in a daily dose of magnesium citrate. Last one that I want to talk about is magnesium threonate. And this is the one that really helps with your brain. It specifically can help with dreams. So I like to add that one in. Ideally, when I'm taking a magnesium supplement, I like something that's got all of it in there. It's hard to find. One of my favorite is BioOptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. I will put in the notes down below a link where you can go and order that, get a percentage off. But literally 2 to 3 of these every night is what I do. I literally, this is like you're looking at my bedtime routine. 3 of these, sometimes 2. I back down to 2 if I start getting really loose stools. But for the most part, 3 at night, and wow, what a difference for sleep, what a difference for GI motility the next day, super powerful. I do like to get a magnesium IV once a month, and about once, if it depends if I'm traveling a lot, once a month, once every couple of months, I like to do a float. So I like to get it in as many different ways as possible. But especially for my perimenopause and menopausal women, super important that we pay close attention to these 3 symptoms. But even for men, this is important. And again, it's so interesting to me that when stress is high, when we're not sleeping, when we're having muscle cramping, we fail to look at something as simple as supplementation of a high quality supplement to be able to help us. So really dive into understanding some of the best ways to bring in magnesium for you. Give them all a try. You'll know intuitively which one's the best. But do not lose sight of how powerful this nutrient is. This is one you need on a regular basis. So let me know if you have a magnesium win story. Put it in the comments. But there you go. That's what you need to know about magnesium and the signs that you're getting too low. Hope that helps. Losing belly fat. I get it. Watch this video so you know exactly how to get rid of your belly fat. So I really want you to remember that cortisol and belly fat, those go hand in hand. So as your belly is growing, it's not always diet related. It can also be stress related.